Have you lost your job? Have you lost a loved one? Are you exhausted caring for your parents, for your kids? Well, you can find immediate relief when you read Sheila Mac's new #1 bestseller, Bootstraps and Bra Straps. It contains the Boots formula to move from rock bottom back into action in any situation, especially right now. If life has knocked you down, pick yourself up with Bootstraps and Bra Straps. Get your copy at www.SheilaMac.
Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's Sheila.
Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and today we have special guest, Kristina Shea. Kristina is an emerging leader in the wellness space. She is savvy, smart, and spirited, and she has a strong business background as a senior executive, but anyone who knows her will agree that she is a heart-centered business leader as well. She has stepped out on her own into the entrepreneur space as the founder of BlueSkys Life, a purpose-led, inclusive, holistic lifestyle wellness brand. Kristina has a life story of resilience, and she is going to share more about that now and more about BlueSkys Life vision that is to make all women feel beautiful inside and out naturally with non-toxic products and non-toxic thinking. All right, welcome to the show, Kristina.
Thank you so much, Sheila, for having me. It's an honor to be here with you and share my story and hopefully provide some enlightenment and inspiration for others.
Yes, and I like to start off each show with asking a question. Now, this show actually came about with my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. And I have found that sometimes in life, when we hit a difficult situation, it really is a gift that lets us reinvent ourselves on our own terms. So do you have a story that you could share about a time in your business or personal life where you experienced a difficult situation and how you got back on track?
I'm happy to do so. I wasn't really happy at the time when all these things happened, but as you say, a lot of them happen for a bigger purpose, or at least that's how I like to frame it. I'll give you a bit of my personal background. So story of resilience, I have been widowed twice. It's like being struck by lightning twice. Mm-hmm. So I had to rebuild myself up from both examples. Once I was very young, I was 24 years old, and my husband died in a motorcycle accident, which you can guess is not a pretty thing. We used to ride, and I had to leave my home, I had to start over. I left, I lost my job too, because it was just a very traumatic time. And we didn't have, insurance or things like that. That was really feasible in terms of sustainability. And then I remarried, maybe not to the perfect partner, but I did have a wonderful daughter. Unfortunately, he had his issues, and he died very, very suddenly in 2016. We were not like completely together, but we raised and co-parented because he did have some, as I said, issues, but alcoholism, gambling were some of those. So I found those very difficult. So I was the sole provider, and he passed away. The hardest moment in my life was really telling my daughter that her father had passed away. Yeah. And in that same year, and everything in 2016, I mean, nobody's saying 2020, 21 have been hard, and they definitely have been. But 2016 was the worst year ever in my life. I lost my father as well. So we both lost our fathers in the same year. I was actually, I had an issue with my employer at the time. So I ended up actually in legal discussions. So it was quite a challenging year. And I was, trying to figure out how I'm going to make ends meet. And it was just so it was totally rock bottom because I was like, what am I going to do with my career? I left a corporate, very high profile position. And I had to reinvent myself, as you say. And really my guidepost was, wanting to be a role model for my daughter. And, I knew that I had a higher purpose. There was always this voice inside me. And during that time, in addition to all that, throughout those timeframes, I was diagnosed with a brain cyst and I had suffered debilitating migraines. So we attribute everything to stress. And back then we didn't really talk about how much stress was more like a badge of honor, right? So I actually collapsed in the financial district. So all these things started to gel together and I was diagnosed with that and, and coping with it and on my own terms and living well, not sleeping 3 hours a night and all those things. So really what I did is I reframed it, everything. And I'm like, these things all happened to me for a reason. And I started living my life, I call it wealthfully. So, meditation, incorporating healthy eating. I mean, I was existing off Coca-Cola and cinnamon buns when I was working downtown Toronto. And then, so not being well. And, I was using a lot of painkillers too at the time, trying to deal with my migraines, which is a cocktail for disaster, right? So recalibrating my life, reinventing it, reframing it. And I just decided, you know what, enough, don't feel sorry for yourself. You have to get up, dust yourself off and keep going. And, throughout that journey, a lot of women said, how can you keep going and how can you be strong? But they also told me that I inspired them, which it was not my purpose at the time. I just wanted to survive, right? So, and I realized there's a real gap in education about toxic products that women wear on their bodies every day. So the average woman puts about 515 or so chemicals on her face and body. She leaves her house. I'm not talking products, but chemicals. Among them are, formaldehydes, obviously parabens and phthalates, which are all plasticizers. And there's another one people don't know about really right now, but PFAs, which are in, stay on lipstick and all sorts of things. So these things have cumulative effect. I mean, not to mention with our lifestyle, but because we use these products on the largest organ of our body, so I really feel I have a purpose here to educate women and also elevate women as a whole and wellness as a whole and help them live a better life and be their best selves inside and out, as you said. So that's sort of where it all came from and how BlueSkys came to be. And my purpose is all under that blue sky.
Wow. Yes, that is so important and something that I think there's some awareness around all these chemicals and toxins now that wasn't around before. And I don't know how COVID affected everything as far as because everybody was so concerned. Everybody starts disinfecting and cleaning. Like I had never cleaned my house. I cleaned my house. I had a cleaning service like the whole life because I always ran businesses. I never cleaned things so well in my life. So when we first started, nobody knew, and they're giving all these warnings. We're like, okay, well, shoot, clean again. And it was a lot of cleaning and products that usually I wouldn't even bother with. And I tried to be as safe and natural as possible, but it was difficult and interesting. So that across the whole world, people overindulging in the cleaning products to the point of, I don't know, burning your hands with the cleaning sanitation stuff almost. And yeah. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what do you suggest? I mean, for makeup, for us ladies, what are the healthier brands or things that you use or recommend? What do you suggest for all that?
Well, I mean, I really recommend really understanding and trusting the brand that you do buy from. Learn how to read the product ingredients and so on. A lot of people will say that they're organic, but it's just if they're not certified organic, and that's a costly process. So a lot of the smaller companies actually do practice organic practices. But some of the large companies, their bottom line, is what matters most to them. And so they can put organic or all natural, which is very misleading because a lot of the ingredients are not natural. They only, actually, I think it was, I'm trying to read, I don't want to say a stat just to make sure I'm off, but it's over half of the products that you see on the shelf are not organic or are not all natural, even though they say they are. And it's much cheaper for larger companies to bring in, barrels of petroleum to put into their products versus the natural organic ones. So it's really, I think, trusting the brand. I actually carry a variety of clean living and clean skincare products, which I personally vet. And I'm in the business, or right now, I'm always making sure I'm in the know, and I'm very transparent with that. But look for parabens, look for phthalates, and ensure that there's another one that fragrance. So a lot of times you will see the word fragrance. This is kind of, to me, it can be a red flag, because it's not defined, so you don't know what's in that fragrance. And usually a fragrance means it's a synthetic chemical. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying all of them are, necessarily bad, but that is, and if there's a long laundry list, I don't want to list them all right now, but there's something called the Dirty Dozen. And you can use an app like Think Dirty, which is actually a Canadian app. I'm in Canada, which will highlight, what to look for and what not to put on your body or face. If you can't say the word, often it's not healthy. And I'm not saying that you want to eat all the ingredients you put on your skincare, but if you definitely don't want to eat certain ones because you can't pronounce it, or like formaldehyde is like bad, right? So you do not, so don't put them on your face, because there's another different stats, like anywhere from 30 to 60% of those chemicals that you put on your skin, which is your largest organ, are absorbed into your bloodstream. So think about that cumulative effect. You might not see it in a year, you might not see it in 5 years, but you might see it later, or you might see it immediately. There's all sorts of carcinogenic things, and we don't even know all the effects. And because women are being sold to look beautiful, but I think it's really good to go natural. I'm not saying that you don't wear or use skincare at all or makeup, but really understand those ingredients and go back to your roots. And BlueSkys is all about that. I really do vet the products that I carry. And as I said, we're in the midst of formulating, which is about a year out. But it's a very exciting process, because I think it's really important, whatever brand you choose, that that they stand behind their product, and you can ask questions and reach out to them, and they will answer you truthfully and transparently.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's really important. And I think a few years back, my friends had me switch over to certain brands that are very natural and healthy, and they are more costly, but I have to wear makeup for these videos.
I know I did actually put makeup on today, because often during COVID, I have to say I'm good about my skincare, but I don't always put makeup on.
I literally don't wear makeup unless I'm shooting the videos or going to speak on a stage or something like that. I'm, maybe some like a Burt's Bee or something really natural lip gloss. And that's kind of it, because I have good skin, and people say, "Oh, you have good skin. What's your routine?" I'm like, I just don't put a lot on most of the time and let my skin breathe. And I think that's been the best, and natural soaps and things at home that are like organic and safe, and that I shower with. I don't have like a huge routine. That I don't do the, all the chemicals you put on. I don't really do that. I've never had to do that. And so it's really good.
No, I agree. I think, being as natural as possible. I do like to look, anybody who knows me, I know I used to even be a performer, or back in the day, I liked my sparkle. I still like my signature pink lipstick.
Yes.
I'm still a woman. But no matter how you choose to live, I think it's really, we think about so much what we put in our bodies and what we eat. And I'm very much about that as well. But I always believe in the 80-20 rule. Like, we have to be a little real here, like a glass of wine, maybe, something a little bit not so healthy once in a while. But it's the same thing with our skin too, and our face. But if you're putting that much caution and awareness of what you put in your body, you should think about what you put on it as well. Because as women, we do use a lot of body butters. And I have, for example, a full collection of Shea butters, which is my last name, Kristina with a K, Shea, like the butter, like I like to say. And I love that, because I've had eczema, and it even can help with psoriasis, all sorts of things that you have in your scalp. But it's natural, and we use essential oils to fragrance. So they're not fragrance, they're actually, aromatic, and they're not more like an aromatherapy experience, and they're mild. And we can carry raw products as well that have no scent, because some people do have allergies. And I think it's really important. And BlueSkys Life, I spell it with a Y. A lot of people say that, why did you spell it like that? It's incorrect. And it's actually because I really wanted to be a purpose-led brand, and it was all about your why. And my why was that I wanted to inform women about what's in their products and how to help them understand that, and just be cautious. And just because it says natural doesn't mean it is, because it can be a marketing jargon.
Yes.
So I think it's just as like you would read your ingredients, and with what you put into, like what you eat and consume, I think it's just as important to understand that and work with a company that really stands behind the same core values that you do.
I agree. And, there's something to it. At my house, I even have the water filters on the showers and the Kangen water filter and things like that, they say when you're showering,
Mhm.
and the chlorine and all the chemicals that are put into, at least in the US, there's like so many chemicals in the water. And if you're showering, then you're ingesting it into your skin and your pores more than if you drank it, even just
Yes.
from showers. And so it's really important to do these things. And I'll invest in that over a new piece of furniture, let's say, because I think that's more important. If we don't have our health, what do we have?
Exactly. Health is your wealth. And I even, I play with the word a bit, but wealth, like WELLTH, because if you don't have your health, when it's not your, you don't have any wealth of any nature. And I always do say sick planet is sick people. So we were talking about all those from the water. There's even something called structured water, which I have to look into, but which is a good thing. But what I also wanted to talk about was sustainability. So products that we have to be mindful of what those chemicals are that they use to create them in the first place. And a lot of them do go down into our water systems. So, what we drink and what we shower with, it becomes part of our DNA and our makeup. So, to be mindful of what you buy, even with, I don't sell detergents or anything like that, but just to be mindful in general, but even what you use on your face or your hair care products and so on, they go down the drain when you wash your hair. And all those things. And I know they sound like a lot, but this is those micro steps. You don't have to change everything at once, but just think about those things, because we want to leave a healthy planet and to our children, but we also want to make sure that we stay healthy, and whatever we can do to make the planet well will help us in the long term too with our own health.
Yes. There's even natural hair coloring.
Mm-hmm.
And natural, I forgot the name of what I use, but it's like, I don't know, maybe $25 or something like that for this box. And it's all natural from Erewhon, is a store in the US, and you have to get it online, or Erewhon. It's a specialty, but it's like so much better. Why are you going to put something in your hair that right on your head is going right to your brain? That's a toxic.
Yes, very, very true.
I don't know about that. So there's ways to get around these things, and it's like you just feel like, well, it's still better.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think I think whatever you use. I'm not like I'm not going to say that you should have to change the world in a minute, but I think just those small steps and being aware is the most important thing that you can do. And to feel, I was talking about feeling beautiful. I think it also comes within, and we're talking about non-toxic products, but I also do talk about non-toxic thinking. So we could segue a little bit, but it's I think a lot of women, we have self-limiting beliefs, we have imposter syndrome, we have all these things, and a lot of toxic thinking. It can be self-imposed, but also from society that we've grown up with. So I like them to go hand in hand, because I think it's all about mindset as well.
Oh, it's so much. So I adopted 3 children. I have 3 children from birth. So I have this big family, and 2 of my young ones had to go in for braces. And this, now they're in college and above. So this was a while back, but I went into I don't know, it was like the orthodontic lady sent me over to get the x-rays at a special place. And in the lobby, there's these TVs, and there was like 4 TVs on the same channel, and they were giving commercials about medications to take. And they also did Botox.
Everything
for your face or whatever. And so I felt beautiful and incredible and happy and well when I went in, and I didn't have my backup my phone with the ear pods or anything like that, because it was a while back, and so I didn't have that with me, and I was just sitting there, and everywhere you look there's this negativity. By the time I left, and I was young, and there was no wrinkles yet, there was nothing. I was perfect as could be, and I go to the car mirror and I was like, oh my gosh, and I started looking at my face and I was like, wow, maybe I do have something right there. And I thought, wait, that was all negative marketing, and everything about it was to make, and it was all toward women. Mm-hmm. There wasn't anything toward men at that point. And it was all to make you feel really bad about yourself, and that there's something wrong and you've got to go fix it. and it's got to cost a lot of money.
Well, yes, exactly. Like they're marketing towards us and all those magazines, photoshopped models who are 12. It's a terrible thing. I think we're starting to see a little bit of a shift with reality in terms of what a true woman is. And a woman can be any size, shape, gender, and still be beautiful, because I think it is about confidence. And when you're deteriorating a woman's confidence with those kind of, those things that are bombarding us in social media, as even our children are growing up with it. Yes, we have body acceptance, but we still have all these other things bombarding us. Like you have to look this way, wear these kind of clothes, you have to have this type of hair, it's still there. And so I think it's really retraining our own minds, but also then, bringing that up with our children, both for young men and women too, so that men don't put those societal definitions of beauty, because I really feel that beauty does come within, and there's nothing wrong with tweaking and doing. I mean, I don't judge, but at the end of the day, I think it should come from confidence and that light that comes out from you, and that's where the true beauty is. And every line that I have, I do so. I used to look at them critically. Right. I'm 48 years old. I'm proud of my age. I used to not tell my age, but I am 48 and proud of it. And I've been through so much, and I'm still standing here. And I'm very fortunate to, have my faculties and my legs and my arms all work. And, I do good things. I try to do good things in this world. And I think that's what's beautiful, is really giving back, but also you earned everything that you've done. Your laugh lines, those are last. When you've cried, you've cried. It's being human, and women are beautiful no matter how old they are or how young they are. I think it's just needing to find that self-confidence within, and that's what's really going to make you beautiful.
Yes. I mean, and it's really crazy if you think you have to look a certain way for a guy. I have 5 sons and 1 daughter, and what they're looking for in a girl or young lady is completely different than what you think. They don't like the big eyelashes. They don't like the long. They're like, oh, what is wrong? Why did she do that? She was great, and then she did all this, and she looks weird. It's too much. This is what they're telling me. And I mean, even for myself, I'll go to, maybe to meet someone for coffee or something with a group, and I'm standing in line, and I have nothing is done. Because it's like a women's group. We're going to talk and go do yoga or something. So we're in our yoga gear. We're not going to meet anyone. They'll come up to me, and I'm like, guys will come up, and they're like, hey. And I'm like, you're kidding. I have not even lipstick, nothing on. But they're happier to talk to somebody natural. And so it's all in our brains and that marketing that happens. And so watch that. And I think there's marketing to boys and girls, young children that start off so young with a Barbie doll, and you got to look like this. Who the heck? Nobody looks like Barbie.
Barbie can walk. Barbie would fall over. Her feet are too
She had a lot of operations to get that way.
Yeah. I think that's so sad, and I think it's starting to shift, but it's going to take time. But I think it's to continually educate and elevate women as a whole, and I think that's always been my thing. Even when I was in the corporate world, is I want to shoot that elevator back down and elevate women, but not just from a corporate perspective of their career, but I want them to feel like they're beautiful inside and out. And I used to even host these dance things, because I used to do dance when I was younger, but I used to have these big events, and I would have the professional, but also would get the amateur women in to dance, and they were some of them were 75 years old, and so they were all shapes and sizes. And I had one woman come to me after, she goes, you made me feel beautiful. This is the first time I felt beautiful in my life. And that is one of the most defining moments actually in my life, because it became a mission of mine that I wanted to make every woman feel like that. Because it's funny, because you could be a supermodel and you can still have all these insecurities or look a certain way, and you don't realize that they have the same insecurities as somebody else often, right? And a lot of it's not even real. I mean, they take off their makeup and they're not photoshopped. And so it's hard to look at yourself. And even with all the filters and things that you see on social media, you see these young girls, and, it's before and after, in terms of what they're swiping with the filter. I think it's going to really alter some sense of reality. And I think we need to get back to being real. We talk about authenticity. So let's try to be real as much as possible. There's nothing wrong with, putting up, I do like my lipstick. I won't lie. That's one thing I think I'd like on a tropical island if I was, and sunscreen, definitely sunscreen.
Oh, yes.
I think, non-toxic thinking. I think I've grown up with it my whole life. Even my father used to if I've gained a little weight or if I did this or that. So I think it starts from a generational perspective as well. And I think as a mother, I want my daughter to always feel beautiful and healthy inside and out, as I always say, but it does come from within. And if you're shining, but don't, when someone's dulling your sparkle or turning down your glow, don't let it. Protect that energy. And you are beautiful, and let it shine.
Yes. And I think the media, if your parents listening in, watch the media, watch what your children are exposed to right now with our news. There's so much going on, a lot of fear, a lot of scary stuff.
Yeah.
And to have that in the home is going to change your child in a way that may not be too good, or add fear that's going to come out in a different way. It'll come out in homework or stress or acting out or something else. And so to really protect and guard what you're bringing into your home, even if you're just adults living there, what the energy that's coming in through those screens, keep it on a positive path. A positive energy is going to make all the difference. So I raised my kids. I was a Waldorf teacher, Montessori. Then I graduated and did Waldorf teaching, and it was a completely different education. And part of the agreement when you bring your children to the Waldorf schools is no screens until at least middle school. Nothing. They want real life experience where you're doing woodwork and handcrafts, and you're learning art and singing and dance, all these beautiful things, and story and talking and discussion and creating your own textbooks. And so that's how my kids were raised, although we were connected with so many people in the community and children that went to regular other schools. And so we talked and had lots of conversations about the differences, but that media influence didn't happen. You know what I mean? And so, like, my daughter's 13th birthday party, now she's like 25, her 13th birthday party, some of the kids in the area brought her the pants that say juicy on the butt. And she said, I am not going to wear those. Can I give you them back? There's no way. That's an insult. And I mean, because it was the fashion trend in the day. And she says, and why is that girl, she looks like a clown, Mom. Why is she wearing so much makeup? She's 13.
Yes, I agree. And, I think it comes from the parents and society, what they see. And unfortunately, some of the young girls, that's where I don't really think they have to do that to impress boys, but also impress each other. And I think it just stems from that. And I also try to teach, even though, it's not something I agree with, is like just to take it from a non-judgment point of view, because with other girls, I think we need to support each other. Right. And you don't always know what they're living with at home, or what society, or what's going on in their heads as well. So, and I think, elevating young girls and women as a whole, doesn't matter what age they are, but making them feel good about their contributions. And your daughter is probably doing amazing things. And I always, compliment my daughter on what she's doing, whether it's volunteer work or school, or just helping around the house. So it's not really geared, necessarily always at their looks, because I think that's what a lot of times we do in society. Oh, you look, there's nothing wrong with looking pretty. We want to look vibrant. I'd rather be vibrant than termed pretty. But when I was younger, or smart. And when I was younger, people say, oh, you're really pretty. And I said, I'm really pretty smart. Yeah. So, and I think that's what we want to encourage our children, and our daughters in particular, to really embrace their other talents. It's wonderful. I think beauty is in the eye of the beholder, of course, but I think it's so important to them to feel good about who they are and what they contribute in terms of value, versus just, juicy on their bum. And there's even these pants now, right? With those, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but there's these workout pants, which they kind of shape the bum.
Oh, yes.
And I was like, it's funny because I don't know, every era or every decade, that this size and shape of whatever is attractive seems to change, but you don't see that when it comes to men. So I think we should put down their foot, this is what we look like. We're all real women. And I think that's started to come to fruition, but it's going to be a long road, but we just have to stand by it and make sure our daughters and our friends and ourselves, that we feel good, and we love ourselves. If you love yourself, it'll all come from within, and it spreads, right? So it's like a contagion. So you spread your kindness and love, then it'll just keep spreading. And that's what I do want to come out of the pandemic, kindness to be the new contagion, but also for women to, non-toxic products that help their health and wealth, but also non-toxic thinking.
Yes. And the self-love the self-love of not having to do something to fit into some kind of a norm. Now you have to have a big behind or bum, and the is little, and then and that was in. It's like, and no matter what, and then so you're putting on tanning lotion, or some people trying to get lighter, or they're changing their color of their hair because they got to fit in, whatever it is. It's just like, to fit into what?
You don't want to blend. I always tell my daughter, don't blend, because when she was younger, I just want to blend in. I'm like, you don't want to blend in. You want to stand out by who you are. I mean, if you want to have pink hair, go for it. I don't know what that'll do to you. But, you know, it's more, I think it's more important just to think about, the mindset. You want to stand out and you want to be you authentically. And that's what makes you beautiful. That's what makes you wonderful, unique, right? And there's no copy of you, right? You're the original painting. So do that. And I think that's just it's a mindset and self-love and self-care, because I always do talk about that, because, you know, you're not going to keep your youth forever. You're going to get wrinkles. And there's a picture of, I think it was an Asian woman that I came across the other day, and it was like, you know, happiness is beautiful. And she looks like she's 100 years old or something. And she has so many lines, but she is so happy, radiantly smiling.
Right.
But I think, beauty is really about what you give back and put out there. And, you know, it all is, as I said, it's contagious, right? So if you make someone feel beautiful, and I don't mean just their exterior, but it will spread, and they will do that in turn. And that's where I think women can really support each other as a whole.
So true. I mean, one of the concepts in my book, the Boots and the Boots formula is being. It's who you're being and all you're doing and how you show up. Whether you're, you know, cleaning your house or out, you know, entertaining people or meeting new people, whatever you're doing, whatever you're called to do, how you show up is going to that's the beauty of it. How can you show up? And this last 15 months or so with our universal pause, our COVID, how people are being, it screams volumes. Sometimes people are scared and they're not being so pretty in their what's showing up. And so to remember to be in your beingness and to show up authentically in love and kindness, no matter what you're dealing with on this planet, is going to make the most difference. And that's the most beautiful thing.
I totally agree. I love that. I love the title of your book too, Bootstraps and Bra Straps. I just love that. I love boots. I don't always wear a bra, I'll be honest. but you know, I think it's such a really wonderful title. But I think showing up, and that's one thing about, you know, my story, I guess, is like, you know, I made the decision to show up. I mean, I went through some really dark times, and I was by myself. I'll be honest. I didn't have family support. I didn't have you know, friends really. A lot of them, some of them were there, but a lot of them, you know, they drift away or they don't know what to say to you. So.
Right.
So I like to shine a light on other women and elevate them as a whole, because you never know when you might need that light shone on you and you're in the dark. So I think what comes around goes around, and talking about energy, and that's beauty in itself. Right. I love my products and everything very much, but it's very much about a mindset, and I always want that growth mindset and showing up even when you don't feel like it. Is key. And then reframing your perspective. And when you're going through a hard time, take some time to step back, maybe take a breath or two, or rethink it before you say something that might really hurt somebody, or scar them literally inside versus, you know, not talking externally. But
yes, and getting to that, going through that grieving process. I had, out of all my children, my youngest had a heart condition, and he did pass away December 21st, 2019. It was so hard for my family and I, and you kind of learn people that you didn't think were that close become your closest friends and help you out, and other people have no idea how to, like, what to say or do, so they do nothing. And it's a tough one, and it's such a personal journey to heal through a loss. It really is.
I so feel for you. My heart goes out to you. I'm so sorry for your loss. I mean, I think losing a child is just one of the worst things that can happen. I feel very blessed that I have my daughter out of all the things. And my heart goes out to you. And I want to hug you through the screen. Because I know what it's like. And I still think it's an ongoing journey I don't think, I mean, grieving is, and it's so fresh for you, and it's still reasonably fresh in my, well, 2016 doesn't, it seems like a while, but it seems like yesterday. And even my first husband, it seems like yesterday. And my daughter, she doesn't have a dad. So, yeah, it's always trying to fill those boots for him too. But I think it is about showing up. And as you're right, there's so many people that you don't feel are necessarily your close friends, but they rise to the occasion. And then unfortunately, I try not to, it was hurtful, but then I step back and I'm like, well, maybe they just didn't know what to do or how to react. And that was try not to take it personally, but yeah, sometimes it is really hard to take. And, but I think you find your own people through it. You also find your strength. And from those awful setbacks and hardships, we find a message in how we can help others. And I try my best to help other women who've gone through loss or trauma. And yeah, I think that's kind of finding, everybody talks about your mess and your message, but I really think finding purpose in that, and that, I'm being able to help maybe now, not just the power of one I always talk about, but it spreads. And I know that inspiration, and I didn't have that. I just had a survival mode, but I wish I had someone there for me. And I hope that I can do that for others at the same time now that I've survived.
Yes, that's one of my first chapter was on grieving. I wrote the book before I had my loss with my son. I had lost relatives, parents, things like that. And so I based that chapter on that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I wrote the book for myself. My goodness, how did I know? Like I needed it. And I thought, what can you do to help people to learn how to connect with those that are grieving? Because sometimes you just don't have the words if you haven't had the experience. So that's in there. And also just helping people honor the process. Because like you said, years go by, it feels like yesterday. It really does. No question.
Totally. I understand, like it was 1997 when my first husband died. And yeah, and it does. I remember everything like it was yesterday. But it still seems like a lifetime ago, and it's framed my way of life a little more. I'm more in the present. I enjoy the beauty of sometimes the really simple things, which maybe we didn't appreciate as much before, especially after my health condition as well, because it was brought on by stress. But yeah, being present and trying to enjoy those moments and don't sweat the small stuff, as my mom used to say, which I never really understood until much later. And yeah, those beautiful moments. And I like to think that both of my husbands are there watching over, not just watching over, but actually experiencing some of the moments that I'm experiencing. So I try to take time to be grateful for, everybody talks about gratitude. It's sometimes hard to implement, but that's one thing that I did and I still continue to do to help me get through it. But I think you writing that book, like I'm in the process of doing something similar, but yeah, it was like the universe setting you up for maybe healing as you finished and then maybe read it again after.
Right. Yes, it was exactly that for me, and something that, you just want to be able to help so that those out there are not as alone. And I felt very alone. I also didn't have family, just my children, and we're the strong ones, is like, okay, but we're going to be really honest here. We're not going to have to be strong through this. As we went through our grieving process, we're going to be able to cry. You want to wake me up at 3 a.m. and talk, or cry, or you need to hit something, we'll hit a pillow or whatever we need to do to get through the different stages. And we will have open conversations. If you want to go to therapy, I paid for all that for everyone that needed it and wanted it whenever they want it. And so it was really honest. And even me sometimes breaking down and crying or talking honestly with my kids about it gave them permission to feel. And I think that kind of helps to prevent the physical manifestations because we're not letting those emotions out. And yeah, it'll go somewhere in your body if you don't let it out, the pain. And so that was something I really worked hard at, and it made a big difference. And then gratitude practice from the very start, I was like, okay, I know we can barely think today. What are we grateful for? What can we be grateful for? And it changed. The looks on my kids' faces were like, and I'm grateful for it. And they went to the grateful place, even though we were extremely sad and grieving. And it gave, I don't know, something, it brought more beautiful things into our life. And now there's the studies, scientific studies and spirituality studies. Whether you have a belief system or not, there's something to the meditation, prayer, to having that time and space. And when you look at the studies of people passing on, they're connecting with those on the other side already.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, I'm people. I mean, I've always been in like what they call woo woo, I guess, but I'm like it's woohoo because you know what, it got me through a lot. And meditation, gratefulness. You might not do it every moment of your day, but you know, I think when you appreciate the beauty of life or beauty of that flower, or looking up at the blue skies, which is what got me through. Because I was like, oh, there's this, you know, I'm going through tough times. There's not even a blue sky right now. It's like a storm cloud. But I knew there'd be a blue sky maybe tomorrow or the next week. And when it is there, and right now it's, you know, summer's here, and I'm just loving it because it's just such a reminder to me that no matter what the weather, it's really, the blue skies are always there. It's just, the rest is just weather, right? So that's kind of how I frame it, because I know that's a famous quote by somebody, which I can't remember, but it's so true. And if you appreciate the beauty, more beauty will come because you're present and you see it. And you can see that in people too. So, you know, with your environment and your people, and enjoying the beauty of our fellow women or our wonderful daughters, and in people as a whole, I think is, I think it's just a special thing, and then the world would be much more wealthful. And I think that's really what you're saying is I so resonate with.
Now, I have a question I always ask my guests, and that is, do you have a book that maybe affected you in your life in a positive way, a recommendation or a series of books that really made a shift for you in your lifetime?
I read so many books, and I continue to read. And of course, you know, your schedule gets so busy, but one that it's easy for me to digest, and it goes back to gratefulness and things. I think it's from Robin. I think it's Robin. I can never say his name. Sharma. And it's not The Monk Who Sold the Fry. I actually have not read that one. But it is, I think it's called Who Will Cry When You Die? And he's got daily affirmations, basically. I believe, and there's another book that I have, and it's like a daily, I can't remember if that has the same title, but anyway, it is Who Will Cry When You Die? And because, you know, you've had loss, I've had loss, I want to make sure that the why in my blue skies, that I have a purpose and I leave a legacy of some kind, even if it's just one person, and continue to do that. Because people think it's morbid when I talk about that. Like, I want a big party when I pass away. Everybody have fun and hopefully remember me in a positive light. I don't want it to be a sad occasion, because I want to know that hopefully I've spread some good things here while I'm here. And so that's one book that's always really stuck with me. There's lots of professional books, and I love Robin Sharma. And you know, there's so many amazing books, but that's the one that really does stand out. There's another one that I'm trying to remember the author's name, but I think it's called Design Your Life. And it's kind of like BlueSkys Life. I wanted to design my own life and around this optimism and, you know, beautiful sustainability and bright skies ahead. So I was designing my life in a positive light and making things beautiful, making women feel beautiful naturally, in terms of, you know, non-toxic products, non-toxic thinking. But those are the ones for me. I'm very curious to read your book, actually, because I am definitely going to get a copy of it. So, what about you? I'm very curious about books for you.
Oh my goodness. So I would say Think and Grow Rich is my ultimate favorite. As an 8-year-old child, I actually bought it at a neighbor's garage sale. And I was living with parents, grandparents, and different elders because my mother had polio and she couldn't take care of me. And my father had health issues. And so I was kind of passed on from house to house, and I wanted to help my mom. And so this little kid, I was like, okay, this book is going to teach me how to think and grow rich so I can help my mom. And so I slept with the book. I read it over and over again, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And I actually was able to buy my mom a home later on and help her and all my family a great deal. So that book has always been a gift to me. And I still have that original copy on my nightstand. And so it's still... Yes.
What a story. I love that. I have not read it. I've heard really good things about it. So I am going to probably get the Audible version of it
Yes.
if there's one. But that's an amazing, beautiful story. I mean, there's so many books too that I read that are fiction and I guess talking about creating a world. But, I know it sounds kind of silly, but Wizard of Oz, because the hero was a little girl and she lived in really, I mean, I had a bit of a dysfunctional home, but she had hardships in a different way and poverty, and she escaped in her own little world and created her own world of fantasy, but also there was a lot of positive messages throughout that book. And it's not just the one book, it's actually, there's a series of them. And the author himself, Frank L. Baum, I mean, he's got a story of resilience. I mean, that book was several times, many, many, many times rejected, and it was eventually published, and look at the legacies left behind. So I really do like sometimes just even children's books because they have usually a good message in them at the end of the day, and what inspires children. And I think it's just so amazing that you read an adult's book that was, that is so amazing. I'm definitely going to get a copy of that now.
Oh yes, and I my daughter and I, our favorite book is Robert Louis Stevenson and the Seagull book, and so that's that one book is Jonathan Livingston Seagull, and so I think it's actually Richard Bach that wrote it.
Yeah, I've heard of the book, but I don't know the author.
The story is just incredible, and that was a gift I received in, I think, second grade for Christmas under the tree. A neighbor gave me. They give me these books that have such depth and meaning, and that was, my daughter picked that out as her favorite book as well, and we still have that because it was this whole story about a seagull, but it's about life and humanity, and it was just incredible. So now my other question, as we're coming to the end of our talk, is what would you tell your younger self? Let's say like your 10-year-old self. What I don't know, words of wisdom or guidance would you give yourself?
Oh, that's a very good question. I've been thinking about that actually. I think I would tell myself, again, not just about the small stuff, but I mean, I really think, don't worry about what other people think of you, because I think especially as girls, we're always worried about what we look like, what other people are thinking about us. And half the time they're not even thinking about you anyway. They've got their own problems. But and go and be true to what's driving you, what your passion is, because, especially when you're at that age, it's like people tell you, oh, you should go into law, or you should go into corporate, or you should do this, or you should do that. And meanwhile, at the end of the day, I really wanted to go and be a fashion designer, actually, which I never did pursue. But because I was told that wasn't. So I think be true to yourself. Don't worry about what other people think. You have one life to live. And a bit of practical advice, I'd say wear sunscreen, because I was always trying to tan. It was not a good thing for a very fair person. So sunscreen.
Oh gosh, when I was little at 10 years old, I remember the adults would put like olive oil to go dry their skin in the sun, which didn't turn out very good later in life. Yes. There was like, maybe there was sunscreen, but we didn't have it. We would buy like certain brands would have oils that would make you get a more tan. I would just get red. I don't know.
Yes, I would turn red and then maybe be a slight shade of golden fried, like a French fry. So I think, which isn't healthy either. I was too busy trying to fit in and look like, the Farrah Fawcett's, and not that I would, she was beautiful, but I mean, you are beautiful. That's what I think I would tell my younger self. You are beautiful just the way you are, and do what your heart is telling you, and don't listen to other people.
Right.
Be you.
Nice. I love that. And now, where can people reach you, get your programs, and learn more about BlueSkys Life?
Yes, you can follow me, of course, on social, Facebook and Instagram at BlueSkys Life. Blue and then skies, plural, is spelled with a Y, not an IE. So BlueSkys Life. You can also visit my website, same www.blueskyslife.com. You can reach out to me there. I'm also on Clubhouse under the same handle. So you can reach out to me in multiple ways. Keep your eye posted for 2022. I am writing a chapter in a book actually called Grit. So, which I first thought, oh my God, I'm not really a gritty person, but you know what? I think it's just because we always think of it as that as a male thing, grit. But I mean, women, we make children, we do all these amazingly tough things in life, and so yes, I have some grit in me, and it's really a story about resilience. So watch out for that. So that's contributing to a compilation. And just stay tuned, I guess. So yeah, I'm always welcome to messages. You can DM me and email me personally. I will return your message. And if you are interested in having me on a podcast, and I'm going to be having a podcast very soon called Making Her Story. So you'll be seeing that in the next several months as well.
Outstanding. All right. Thank you, Kristina. And for those tuning in, we'll be back after these messages.
I like to think of stories as windows and mirrors. So either you see yourself or it transports you to another world you haven't ever seen before.
When you're writing a novel, you can put all your jokes in and then whittle it down until just the best ones are left.
When we're on an aeroplane, it's one of the few times where we're not super connected. What would happen right now if something terrible happened?
I thought, if I can pull this off, I've done something nobody's ever done. And that's exactly what happened. You can't get more right than Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks.
Hey everybody, this is Cindy Burnett, and I am the host of the Thoughts from a Page podcast. Several times a week, I interview authors about their latest works. We chat about their covers, their titles, sometimes what inspired them, and always what makes their book stand out. I hope you'll check out my podcast. It can be found on all of the major platforms, including Apple and Spotify. Thanks so much.
I like to think of stories as windows and mirrors. So either you see yourself or it transports you to another world you haven't ever seen before.
When you're writing a novel, you can put all your jokes in and then whittle it down until just the best ones are left.
When we're on an aeroplane, it's one of the few times where we're not super connected. What would happen right now if something terrible happened?
I thought, if I can pull this off, I've done something nobody's ever done. And that's exactly what happened. You can't get more right than Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks.
Hey everybody, this is Cindy Burnett, and I am the host of the Thoughts from a Page podcast. Several times a week, I interview authors about their latest works. We chat about their covers, their titles, sometimes what inspired them, and always what makes their book stand out. I hope you'll check out my podcast. It can be found on all of the major platforms, including Apple and Spotify. Thanks so much.
I like to think of stories as windows and mirrors. So either you see yourself or it transports you to another world you haven't ever seen before.
When you're writing a novel, you can put all your jokes in and then whittle it down until just the best ones are left.
When we're on an aeroplane, it's one of the few times where we're not super connected. What would happen right now if something terrible happened?
I thought, if I can pull this off, I've done something nobody's ever done. And that's exactly what happened. You can't get more right than Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks.
Hey everybody, this is Cindy Burnett, and I am the host of the Thoughts from a Page podcast. Several times a week, I interview authors about their latest works. We chat about their covers, their titles, sometimes what inspired them, and always what makes their book stand out. I hope you'll check out my podcast. It can be found on all of the major platforms, including Apple and Spotify. Thanks so much.
I like to think of stories as windows and mirrors. So either you see yourself or it transports you to another world you haven't ever seen before.
When you're writing a novel, you can put all your jokes in and then whittle it down until just the best ones are left.
When we're on an aeroplane, it's one of the few times where we're not super connected. What would happen right now if something terrible happened?
I thought, if I can pull this off, I've done something nobody's ever done. And that's exactly what happened. You can't get more right than Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks.
Hey everybody, this is Cindy Burnett, and I am the host of the Thoughts from a Page podcast. Several times a week, I interview authors about their latest works. We chat about their covers, their titles, sometimes what inspired them, and always what makes their book stand out. I hope you'll check out my podcast. It can be found on all of the major platforms, including Apple and Spotify. Thanks so much.
Overview of the Boots formula. In December of 2017, I lost my house, my car, and my cat due to a fire. It sounds like a country music song, but that was my reality. and yet another rock bottom situation after a long period of doing really well. When we're able to retrain our minds to focus on the positives, we're able to enjoy more of life, even while we're rebuilding and rebooting. We're going to starve those negative thoughts, not feeding them with our attention, time, or energy. Is not one size fits all, just like a pair of boots or a bra. So the formula is designed to help you through any situation. To grab a copy of my new best-selling book, Bootstraps and Bra Straps, the formula to go from rock bottom back into action in any situation. It is now available on Audible as well as on Amazon and Kindle and at www.sheilamac.com.